start the meeting now. We have a few items to discuss today. Updates from the board, from staff, and from myself. Approving the minutes from February. We have two main items for discussion this month. One about sustainability survey results and updates plan from the draft for the climate action plan and Earth Day events. So you have the floor, guys. You can go now.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and start off with a few staff updates. Actually, Ethan.
Yeah, I have a staff update. So there's been a little bit of movement on the county regulations. I think the city council has sent a letter to the county asking for some possible changes to what the language would be for the zoning. I think it's just related to the growth zones around Wichita, and whether the city could decide to allow solar development in those areas or not. So I don't think the county has responded yet to that letter, but that's where that issue is at. So it's still not put into new zoning ordinance. So
that was a big part of the fight was, we're gonna grow, you can't put, if we want to, we can.
If you want to, yeah, if you want to share your opinion on those with your county commissioner or city council member, I think those are your two good options there, because it hasn't gone through either one yet.
Both of mine would probably, well, I know my county commissioner would be supportive. I imagine my city council member would too. Put in solar.
The only other thing I have is just a reminder that your appointments do expire on the 31st. Thank you, all of you guys. I know quite a few of you have already been reappointed. We still are waiting on just a few, so I will be contacting you guys separately again. Just please let me know. Otherwise, we'll try and find a replacement for you guys. Thank you.
Okay. Any other updates from you guys? Okay. Moving forward for the board updates.
Ben, you're the closest to me. I will start with you.
I missed my very first transit advisory board meeting since I got appointed there.
Oh, no.
So I don't have a staff, I don't have an update.
Okay, no problem. Nathan?
We're waiting on quorum in April to get reappointed. Big changes coming up at Bonnie Prairie, hopefully in the next year or two.
Okay.
Bring back the visitor center, new trails.
Wow.
Oh.
A visitor center?
Yeah,
Because there used to be one?
yeah, it's just like boarded up now.
There was until it became a recreational fire.
Oh, wait, I know where you're talking.
Yeah, further south, we're working on.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds good.
That's exciting.
That's a
That
cool
would be,
park.
wow.
Cool, thank you. Russell, you have anything?
There was a lot of focus on the immediately following city council meeting where there was discussion about trying to preserve an easement to complement the bicycle master plan down along Seneca and 47th. There was a compromise that city councilman Glasscock worked out with the owners, and so that easement was preserved. And then there was some discussion about work that's being planned in the future for the Red Bud Trail.
Awesome, thank you. All right, Scott, I see you're on. Do you have anything? I'm not sure if they've met.
Yeah, the Stormwater Advisory Board hasn't met since January. There's nothing new just at this time.
Okay,
We're talking about meeting in the next month or so.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Scott. Jessica, do you have anything from the DICRAP?
Hello, everyone. I apologize for not being there. I've been, like moving, children, fun. So, DICRAP, we've been working on this survey that's supposed to go out to city employees, crafting that about if diversity, equity, inclusion, if it's transparent, if it's accessible, if it's transparent, if it's going on within the city. So that we've been crafting that, and most recent it was prepared, ready to go out, but with federal things going on, the city has asked that we kind of reword it and take out any DEI wordage, and so we were, figuring out that, and also the reparations commission that Mary Dean had put forward she had revised it to what the city legal had advised. So, and then I had a question with something like that. Am I able to share that with you guys? Like, or
When you mean share, do you mean share with the board?
yeah, we'll share with the sustainability board
Right.
her
Do you mean-
reparations proposal. You said
Yeah.
definitely. Okay,
Did you,
so
yeah,
I can
did you want to add like an agenda item?
yeah, so I can send that like in via email because in her commission to study reparations, there is the section on, you know, environmental health and justices. So, and I think everyone was pretty much on board for it. There's just concern again with the changes in federal for funding for federal agencies for grants. And also there was some pushback on the section 1 of it. There's an apology statement that a formal apology from the city of Wichita. So it's just a quick section. It says the mayor, city council, and city government of Wichita formally and publicly apologize to Black residents of Wichita for the historical and ongoing systemic racism, racial discrimination, and economic injustice inflicted upon them. There was some, you know, a board member that pushed back on that, saying it wasn't necessary to begin with. Maybe after a study is done, then maybe. And that's pretty much all we got through. Mary Dean has sent an updated source because in her ordinance there's no dates or what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry, sources. So people wanted to know if this was factual, who her sources were, and the dates. And
if you have something to send to the board, if you send it to me first, so we don't violate any COMA rules, and I can send it out to the board. Anything I think pertaining to sustainability or environmentalism, I think would be a good fit for this board that we could look at for a future agenda item.
Okay, perfect. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Cindy, did you have anything?
No, she's
Oh,
not.
she might have jumped off.
No, she
Okay.
was up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Here
she's
we are.
on. Hey, Cindy, did you have anything for us today from the planning?
I don't.
Commission?
I don't. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this is my turn now. Let me share my screen. So my main update for this month is mainly about the proposal I shared with you last month about the new concept for the decentralized gray water treatment and reuse, and this mainly for the new communities and new developments in Wichita. As we mentioned before, and we discussed that before, the objective behind that to cut the water consumption for non-potable water applications. So this proposal has 9 sections. Oops, yeah. Okay. This proposal has 9 sections, starting from overall summary, all the way down to the benefits, work scope, deployment plan, regulations, and permits. And you can see that in the proposal. So just a high level for what I'm proposing. So we are proposing like decentralized concept, meaning that we start to have a new area or new zone in the city under construction or under development. And we start to target like housing unit between 50 to 500. And for this group, we start to have a decentralized storage tank, decentralized treatment train, so we can treat the water, you know. The concept of the gray water in the city, in Kansas is dating back to 2012 by the KDH. But at that time, the procedure is mainly a about single household, is mainly about different definition of the gray water. So if you see here's the definition for what I have for the gray water, we are collecting any water coming out from the house except the water coming from flushing. We got like black water, but their definition is different a little bit. They have this definition, any water coming from the household except the kitchen sink. And the reason behind that, if you see what they have in their procedure, they make a separation between the water coming out from the kitchen where the water get in contact with the food. Other than that, they are collecting this one and use it for subsurface drip irrigation, you know? So if you recall from the last meetings we had, we are trying to use this water for any non-potable water applications, meaning that we can use this water for gardening, for laundry, for flushing, for any non-potable water applications. If we do that, we can be able to save around 20 to 40% of the fresh water, and we can recycle 50 or 60% gray water. And also we can save for the household owners around $200 to $500 per year. And also we can minimize the cost of the city for water treatment by 30%. So this is something very good. When you read this proposal, you can see a lot of details. And also I have here like kind of like specs for the water to reuse it. We're looking for TSS, total suspended solids, POD, COD, turbidity, and other parameters according to the EPA regulations. And here is the timeline if we need to go with this proposal. Feasibility study, we might make a small pilot plan, full scale. And this is just process overview. So the tricky part is mainly separation between the two streams of the water, between the black water and between the gray water. And we may have some connection between, if we have like overflow, we can start to switch to the black water. And after that, this is like a physical picture for how it looks like for water distribution. But this is like for a single house. But when you're talking about a large decentralized concept, we have this on a large scale. And after that, physical and the chemical treatment, ending up with oxidation, stuff like that, you know. All this is very simple, easy, you know, we can do it. The one took my time.
Well, you could do it. I'm not sure any of us.
Okay. Let me take a step back.
Might involve some time.
Yeah, it will take time, you know. And Les, I showed this a proposal. She will send it tomorrow. You have 1 month. Take your time, review it, get comments. If something doesn't clear to you, shoot me email, and I would be more than happy to do that. The objective for next meeting, we'll work together through it, you know. So this is easy for me, but the tough part for this proposal, reaching out to the KDH, Kansas Department of Health and Environment. This is took the entire month. Forward, backward emails, discussions. Is this like a wastewater? You need a permit from KDH, yes or no? So, and also what I have is a different definition of the gray water from KDH. What I have is a different application for the water than what they have. What they have is subsurface drip irrigation. What we are planning to use it, any non-potable water application. The definition of the gray water, any water coming out without in contact with the food, you know, if you're washing vegetables, they call it black water, you know, so our definition is different. So this is just high level from my forward backward emails.
Has KDHE approved your new definition of gray water?
This is a good point.
Because my Kansas legislature, what you're proposing as definition of gray water does not match Kansas legislature statutes for the definition of gray water.
So let me share with you what I got from them and what is the next steps. So if you see here, move one by one. So this is what I got from them, you know. Since the gray water would be used by homeowners and not discharged directly, it would not require the wastewater permit from the KDH.
KDHE.
KDHE, yes.
Yeah.
Kansas Department.
That's a lot easier for us because we're used to
Yes.
saying it that way.
Right. The second one, the project may require city or county permit, depending on where the system will be implemented, depending on the zoning and all this stuff. Homeowners utilizing the gray water reuse systems must ensure best management practice to prevent some stormwater runoff issues. Stormwater regulations may fall under the city MS4 permit, meaning that we have to achieve compliance and would be enforced by the city.
So under KDHE, you probably understand where I'm headed to this under state laws, that it can only be on your home, on your property, cannot go on the neighbor's property. And what it sounds like is you're suggesting a large community gray water treatment.
Yes.
KDHE definitions is anything with fecal matter, laundry soap, waste products going down our sink, all has to go to black water.
That's correct.
And that everything has to be subsurface and can only be used during times of growth. And so it
Yes.
cannot be used during the winter, cannot be above surface. People cannot be exposed to it, and you cannot put it on a garden where you are eating the vegetables, or if it's root plants, you can't even do subsurface drip on potatoes.
This is totally right, but you missed something, you know. We will not use the water as a collection and go. We will meet the ABA regulations. This came from them. Like they said to me, are you treating the water? The answer was yes. What is the standard? I told ABA. They said, we are okay with that, you know. And I invited them to be part of this proposal, you know. When we have this solid proposal, they will be with us kind of consulting, guidance, whatever definition we have. So that's why I said, like, for the treatment here, when you read this one, you can see I will meet the regulation of ABA. This came from the ABA. If you meet this ABA, it will be ready to use it, you know.
I think
It's still, you know, like what you mentioned right now, maybe the other members we mentioned, I will group all of that, you know. But at least this is just draft proposal. We need to build on that. Why I'm moving from single household to decentralized concept? If every owner, like household owner, taking care of this treatment between physical, chemical, distribution inside the house, this is too much work, required maintenance. But if we like a group of 50 households having storage tank of 1,000, 2,000 gallons, we have few physical or chemical tanks. We have oxidation, like like using chlorine or other chemical to oxidize the water to kill the microorganism. This might be easy, you know. I'm trying to solve a problem by cutting water consumption, not by say, oh,
I'm not opposed
You
to
know,
saving
yeah.
water, reusing
Yeah.
water. My only question is, your proposal is going against current state statutes. And so how many senators and representatives are on board to amend Kansas statutes
sure.
to allow this to happen?
I'm not sure, but I'm willing to take the first step. So
The other thing is
Yeah.
that I mean, I haven't delved too much into it, and I will once
Sure,
distributed. But I think KDHE's definition of gray water implies no processing
yes,
before distribution.
that's correct.
And Ibrahim's implies processing to ABA gray water standards, I think, if I'm.
So
saying that
I
right.
would like to stop here the discussion. I will give you the proposals,
Okay.
guys.
Yeah, yeah.
As I have like entire months to read it, you know.
Sure.
This comment is very, very helpful. If you have guidance for us, I see this is a problem. I propose this next step. I'm willing to take it, you know.
Okay.
So I will stop here, just give you heads up. Liz will share the proposal. Next month, this is our full agenda items, you know.
Exciting.
Okay.
So this is gonna come out to all of us before you submit it, or you're submitting it?
No, yeah, so he sent it to me, I'll send it to you guys, and then
Okay.
at a
Thank you,
future
feedback for it.
that I think
Okay.
we're planning for the April agenda for this to be on the April agenda.
Okay.
So giving you guys kind of a month to look into it and ask
Okay.
questions of Ibrahim beforehand.
Well, please, when you review it, we need to be like proactive for review. What does it mean proactive? I feel we need to add this feature, or I don't like this one, you know? If we can replace this with that, something like that, you know?
So you said, like, if it's produced within the home and used within the home, but then you also
We
said.
have approval of
that
minutes.
you
Yes,
can't use for any, like,
So let's move to
production.
item number 3 in our
But what
agenda
if
for
it's
today.
common within your
It's mainly for approval of the minutes,
like,
so
on your
let's,
backyard? State requirements.
I got an edit from Lori, it was just a spelling
Okay.
change, so got that taken care of before that will be posted.
okay. Any other feedback about the meeting minutes? Any motions?
I move to approve the February 26th Sustainability Integration Board meeting. Minutes.
Second motion,
Second.
thank you. So for those in favor of approving the meeting minutes, say aye.
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 Okay, anyone say no or against that, online or in person? Once, twice, 3 times, I'm going to approve the meeting minutes. Moving forward, we have 2 items now. Sustainability survey results and updated draft plan.
I'm gonna start this off.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I don't wanna throw your meeting off? Because 2 questions were asked. Could I step out of order here and give a quick drought update? Anybody be opposed to that? If I was brief, I don't have to.
I appreciate that, yeah.
Is that fine?
I appreciate that, yeah.
I probably should have thought about making a presentation tonight, but I'm tired of hearing myself talk about it, quite frankly. If you want to hear more about the drought, Google my name. You'll see it anywhere, everywhere. It was at the council workshop yesterday. Same deal. We're still in stage 2 of the drought. Restrictions, the level at Cheney has not changed. In fact, we're starting to see warmer temperatures and see more evaporation, still 7.8 feet low. We expect to stay in stage 2 throughout all of 2025. That is going to require some level of average precipitation, or we could start looking at stage 3. Our goal right now is to stay away from stage 3. I think everybody probably knows if we go to stage 3, we eliminate all outdoor watering. Nobody wants that to happen. So I won't go into a lot of detail. We are doing everything we can to look at strategic planning for the future, things with our aquifer storage and recovery project, making that even more effective and efficient than it's been in the past. We're talking to WABA about development standards. It's something I was talking to you two about. Where do we go with more drought tolerant materials in the future? I would tell you that I think if and when we come out of this drought, we will. I don't think we'll go back to allowing watering 7 days a week, most likely. At least I would not make that recommendation. Oklahoma City waters alternate days. They've been doing it for a long time, seems to work well. I think looking to the future, it's something we need to consider. That again, that would just be a recommendation from me. We are undertaking a very robust and I hope aggressive reuse study. We've hired a consultant. This is looking at direct potable reuse. Currently, there are no state regulations. So one of our first efforts is to work with KDHE on developing regulations. Colorado, Texas, and California have regulations. There's one direct potable reuse system in place right now in the entire country. There's a lot of projects moving forward. To give you just a quick summary, we've got 30 million gallons a day of treated effluent that goes from our wastewater treatment facilities into our creeks and rivers, right? We could find a way to capture that, and there are ways. We got to develop regulations. There's costs associated with that. We could deliver, so our average consumption over the entire year is 50 million gallons a day. We've got 30 million gallons a day that we're sending downstream. We could deliver back to ourselves more than half of the water we need on a regular basis. If we could make that happen, we changed the outlook for water supply for generations. We probably, hate to say it out loud, we'll probably never talk about drought impact again if we could do that. So we're moving forward on that. I'm really excited about it. I think we started talking to KDHE, we've talked to our legislators. KDHE regulations like this are not law, so they don't require legislative approval, but they're going to be a part of it, and we want them to be a part of that.
Wait a minute. So this point came up during Abrams' presentation. You're saying KDH standards are not something that is determined by state law?
And Russell, just so you know, don't quote me on that. So far, I'm going off what KDHE told me, that they said there are certain regulations that aren't necessarily law.
So, and here's the difference. In 2012, there was a Kansas statute for reusing your internal household water. And so in 2012, there were statutes passed. What he's talking about is not codified.
Okay, all right.
And I would tell you whether it is or not won't change our approach. If we have to do that, then that's what we'll be. We're still going to try to approach it that way. So
Yeah, I mean, if we have to go through the legislature, we got to go.
yeah, I mean, we're trying to find a future water supply. This is really the best place to go, right? People tell me all the time, why don't you build another Cheney reservoir? It's just not, there's a lot of things that we just can't get done. El Dorado water is not available. Anyway, I'll be making a presentation to the District 6 Advisory Board on the 14th. If you want to hear that, it's all the same thing. You can find it on the City Council Workshop Tuesday. I just want to provide a quick update on that. So we're doing everything we can to look to the future. I keep thinking we're gonna get some rain. I keep looking at the forecast. It doesn't look favorable. It's
I saw
just,
some clouds today.
yeah. You know, the watershed that feeds Cheney is 600,000 acres on the North Fork of the Nenasko. It's a large, large area. But it's been so long since we've had even average precipitation, the inflow is the lowest it's been since Cheney was built. And so that's what even when it starts raining, you gotta build up from there before it even starts getting into the reservoir.
Now, is Wichita in stage 2? Because I want to say a couple months ago, I heard that we had enough rain around Wichita that we weren't in stage 2 anymore, but everything around us was still in stage 2.
I appreciate you asking that. You're not the only one that asked that. So we have 2 water supplies for the region, right? Well, Wichita, we provide water to 500,000 people, 17% of all Kansans. Wichita, 8 surrounding communities, 3 rural water districts, have 11 wholesale customers. There's no exemption everybody gets their water from the same sources. This is based on the conservation pool at Cheney. So when it's at a certain level, based on a drought response plan, everybody's in stage 2. All of those 8 surrounding communities, everybody we provide water to, everybody at all times will be. So everybody has the same restrictions. They still have to water 1 day a week. We have plans in place with them. And you know what? People stepped up. We implemented it in August. We didn't know what to expect, and it's working. It's painful, but it's working. So, yeah. But do you?
I mean, I was just surprised that they would come out with an article, because then people in Wichita made me think, oh, we're good here, not realizing that we're all pulling the water from the same place.
You bring up a very interesting point that we started realizing last year. And I'll just tell you about this real quick. Cheney Reservoir, sight unseen, is 20 miles away. A lot of people I know have never even seen Cheney. Last year, as we were moving towards this place, we were getting some rain. The local meteorologists were going on TV saying, we got rain, we're good. Well, that's what you said or not. They literally said, we sat down with the meteorologists and said, you gotta stop doing this. They helped us out, went out and focused on Cheney, started sharing pictures and making sure the public understood just because it's raining here, it doesn't mean we're good. We seem to turn the corner there of public understanding. So it's been an education process, but I appreciate you asking that.
What about Cheney being lower?
Sorry, guys, we have a lot more to cover
Okay.
too.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I can come back next time too. Sorry, Ethan, I didn't mean to. So let me get started on this. It's been a little while since we've talked about this plan. I'll take that on me. We've had a lot going on. As we brought out what we called at the time this climate action plan, we got some really, really good public feedback in various ways. Ethan and Lisette are going to talk about the public survey. They presented this at all 6 district advisory boards. We've had discussions with the council members. We got great feedback, and we wanted to hear this. Through the public survey, we saw where people were focused on the things they liked and they didn't like, and that's good. We expected to hear that. We wanted to hear that. So we were moving forward with a new draft plan called the Community Resiliency Plan. There were some things we talked about, some language that we used that ended up giving kind of the wrong impression of where we might be going, and that's fine. That's the feedback we wanted, and we did not want this to be portrayed as maybe similar to some other plan with those types of titles, whatever it might be. We wanted to make sure everybody was clear on what our purpose is here. So I'm just going to say a few more quick words, and then I'm going to let them have at it. One of the things I had talked about to others who've asked about this, we made a change. I'll give you a quick example. We removed the community-wide goal for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. We heard people say, I don't think that's necessary. We don't think you can get there. Probably agree that we're going to focus that on our operations because it's a lot easier to do. We really are, what we're doing here, and I can tell you, especially from my perspective and what our goals are for the city, we've got Ethan in a full-time position now. We have a lot of things going on, things like that Russell's involved in with Bike Ped Advisory Board, multimodal accommodations. We're dealing with extreme weather event right now. I was telling somebody earlier today, last November, we got record rains for Wichita. I bet a half a dozen calls about flooding when those few days that it rained. We're still dealing with those events. Those are things we need to look to the future. We need guidance for the future. So we've got different plans. We've got different sectors we've looked at. I think this plan does a great job of bringing all this together, provides us a path for the future, provides us guidelines for the future, recommendations. We heard some concerns about how do you know the value of some of these things you're looking at? And what's the return on investment? Great question. One of the things we're going to talk about tonight is we have an opportunity for a KDHE grant, no match included, that would help us dig in deeper. And one of the things we would look at is cost benefit analysis. We added air quality into this report. It wasn't there before. Air quality is a big deal. We're under ozone watch today. If any of you paid attention, 2 Fridays ago, it looked like we're in the Dust Bowl.
Yes.
That's federally regulated. Whether anybody likes it or not, we have to respond to and be responsible for. There are some significant consequences to non-attainment for air quality. That's what the SET does. We're struggling to even fund her efforts so that that grant could go to help with that. What we did, and you'll see here shortly, is we clarified what this plan is and what it isn't based on the feedback. And I think it really helped. It helped me to have a better understanding where we're going. This plan doesn't mandate action. It doesn't recommend implementing regulation. That's not what we're doing. We have some recommendations in here about where we might go in the future. But again, this is supporting a lot of the efforts we've already made. It just doesn't go any further than what you see here is what you get. We had some questions again about how this ties to other things. This is what we want to do here. One last thing I'll say real quick. We're not trying to force people out of their vehicles. I hear a lot. I get a lot of calls wanting to know if the city is going to install electric vehicle charging stations. That's what the public wants. We don't know where we're going with that yet. The plan like this will help us have a better understanding what the community wants, what the city council wants, where we might go with that, what the return on investment is. That is a reality. We're not recommending that we become an electric vehicle city. That's not happening, but people want options. The multimodal part, we talk about all the time, hear from folks all the time that want more biking options, more walking options. This plan helps us tie all these things together, making sure we're looking to the future and doing the right things to protect our resources. Nothing more than that. So I like where we've gotten to. I'm excited about the opportunity that if we can get this grant and keep working on this, especially from the cost benefit analysis. But with that, I'll let these two have at it, and they're going to hit on some more highlights for you.
Thank you, Gary. We're going to go through the survey results first. Pause for some questions and comments, then we can go back and look at specific slides if you guys have questions. And then we'll go a little bit of an overview of the new draft plan and the grant that we're looking at. Just to kind of remind everybody about the timeline. So back in September through December last year, we had this survey available. We wanted to gather feedback from the community on different sustainability topics, help inform the development of this plan. We received 329 total responses through that. And city staff traveled to all the district advisory boards, several other citizen boards, and went to present on that draft plan there and listen to community comments in person as well. And the following slides are going to summarize the responses we got for those 10 questions that we asked. So when thinking about climate change, mitigation, action, adaptation, what comes to mind for you? A lot of responses talked about water and air quality, public transportation, walkability, solar and wind energy, and benefits or concerns related to the costs of actions. These are some quotes that we got. So some people talk about clean energy, recycling, conservation, energy efficiency, talking about reducing the emission of harmful gases. Some people are worried about increased regulations, additional costs, and rising taxes. And I thought this last one summed it up pretty well. A lot of different viewpoints, research, and opinions on the matter.
Well, I mentioned one thing real quick. If there's anything in here that doesn't feel right to anybody, the way the questions were asked, keep in mind this was formulated with the original plan for what it's worth. Because what you'll see in the revised plan is we've kind of taken a different path on some of this, we're not making a wholesale change to where we're going here. We just have moved in a different direction based on the feedback. I just wanted you to mention that. So these questions, the way they're worded, the stuff that's in there, that it was at the same time as the original plan. There's nothing wrong with it. I just wanted to give you a time frame of when this happened, if that makes sense.
Question number 2, and I'm not gonna read all those options, but what are the top 3 environmental issues facing you and your neighbors today? And people could choose up to 3. And I've got the numbers figured out there, but I've got another graph on the next slide that'll kind of show this better. But I wanted to talk a little bit about what kind of responses came in for other. We got 53 responses to the other options. So in that section, people talked about cost of living, city spending, homelessness, infrastructure, crime, no environmental issues. Some people repeated tree canopy, and some people said all of the above, since you could only click 3.
Cold got 6 votes.
Yeah. So
I would
this
vote for
separates
that
out
one.
for the top 8 vote getters. So drought was number 1, and we were still talking about drought last year, so I think top of mind for a lot of people. And climate change, heat, outdoor air quality, increased energy burden, so increased energy costs for people, access to parks or green space, and then water quality. Those last 3 finished right around 50. Question 3 was similar, but talked more about long-term impacts and risks over the next 10 to 20 years in Wichita. So similar results with drought being at the top. People are also worried about more frequent heat waves, less predictable weather or precipitation patterns we might see, loss of our tree canopy, urban heat island effect, poor air quality. Those all received over 100 responses, and then a little bit of drop off. Not as many people worried about flooding or heavy rainfall events. 86 people responded with other. We got a lot of different things there. Some people were not worried about climate change or risks at all for the next 10 to 20 years. Some people were worried about wasting money or return on investment, other costs, regulations. Some people reiterated the idea of trees or talked more about wildlife and ecosystem impacts. Some people mentioned water supply again, and some people talked about waste and recycling there, as that wasn't one of the options above. And there, another way of showing the data. So those top 6 kind of stand out, and with drought especially getting the most.
Not surprisingly.
I do believe the heat waves is a silent killer.
And yeah, we can come back to it, but yeah. And then we wanted to find out more about what sustainability topics and services people would want the city to provide more information about. We gave a few examples. A lot of responses kind of tied into those. So water conservation, obviously a very big one. Some people wanted to learn more about our transit system, how to access it, any available rebates or grants. There is a state home energy improvement rebate that's going to be coming out this summer that appears to still be going. It's Department of Energy money, and the state has recently announced that the program's been restarted after a pause. So I'll provide more information once all that information is released. And people also mentioned air quality. But yeah, you can kind of see from the word cloud there that it was a lot of different things, but those are the ones that stood out the most. We also asked people to rank the 5 focus areas that we had decided on in order of importance to them. So this is the order that was averaged out by those responses. So number 1 was natural resources, which included green spaces and water. Number 2 was energy supply and distribution. Number 3 was buildings and homes. Number 4 was transportation and land use. And number 5 was waste management and reduction. And those are the descriptions we gave with those in the survey. We also wanted to find out which of those focus areas people were interested in giving more feedback on. Surprisingly, it wasn't the same order of importance. More people responded to some of these and put it in a different order. So we had over 100 people respond to each of them, but natural resources, transportation, waste management, energy, buildings. We also got over 20 direct emails just asking to be included in future feedback solicitations. So I've got that list. And yeah, when we do future outreach, we have some people to talk to there as well. We also wanted to ask about which 3 of these example goals people thought should be prioritized in our action plan. So number 1 was increasing drought preparedness and water quality. And then the next 3 all finished with about the same amount of responses. So increasing renewable energy usage, expanding public and alternative transportation options, and preserving and increasing green spaces and tree canopy. So we tried to be true to those responses we got there. We also got some responses under other, mentioned concerns about cost again. providing a consistent, reliable, and low-cost energy supply, investing in a healthy tree canopy reiterated, none of the above or all of the above. We often got conflicting responses in the open-ended areas.
But number 5 said reducing emissions, but
Yeah,
we
we did.
eliminated that.
Right, and we can come back to that once I get through. We'll have a full.
Yeah,
question
sorry, I
and
didn't mean to
discussion
throw you
time.
off on that, but we'll come back to that.
And yeah, we can go back to slides as well if people ask. What are your top two concerns regarding implementations of the different strategies and goals that were included in the draft plan? So number one is public awareness and support. Number two is cost and funding. And then the other one that got over 100 votes for it was equity and accessibility. We got some other responses under other. People talked about regulations, impact on businesses, and government accountability for action or inaction. So there was, I think, both perspectives, people seeming positive about it or negative about it. Government accountability was mentioned. Another thing with word cloud, we talked about what projects people thought we should be doing to increase resilience and sustainability. Give us some examples of previous actions like LED lighting upgrades, purchases of electricity generated by renewable energy, and urban tree canopy expansion. So tree, energy, solar, water. So obviously tree canopy, solar energy, water conservation, and ideas around water, I think are some big areas people want us to focus on. Also, a few people mentioned the different ideas we gave as examples. They generally had support of things that we were already doing, so that's good to know as well. And question 10 was, what are some actions that your groups you're a part of have taken to make Wichita a more eco-friendly city? We wanted to see what people are already doing, get an idea of what's happening out in the community right now. A lot of people talked about recycling, volunteering at neighborhood and river cleanups, working with different nonprofit groups or community groups and advocating for what they believe in, energy and water conservation at home or at work, walking, taking a bike or taking the bus as a form of travel, installing solar panels, and planting trees and native plants are all things people talked about really often. All right, those were our 10 questions we asked, so we'd like to open up the board, I think, first.
Yes, we'll open up questions to the board. Just remember, we're gonna stay on topic for the survey results real quick, and then we'll move on to public questions on this item as well. I would just like to remind you guys that we do only have the library until at the latest 7:45. So just as you're asking questions or try not to get off tangent and stuff, but.
And let's make sure we get to 4B.
Yes, exactly. We do want to talk about Earth Day, so I just want to be cognizant of the time we have, and we do still have a couple slides talking about the changes in the plan and the grant, so I'd really like to get to those as well.
So are you still collecting more responses or you are?
No, the survey was closed at the end of December.
Okay.
I just want to comment, it seems like the people who took the survey were thoughtful for the most part on answering. I would have thought that people wouldn't have said much about the heat islands, because I just haven't seen people really that interested in it. So I'm glad to see that people did put that on there.
Yeah, and it was also like, you know, because we're in a drought was the big one, but it was nice to see that even though the survey went out in like November, December, that people identified heat as a problem that we have every summer.
So, I introduced the survey in one of my classes, encouraged the students to take the survey. I have no idea how many did. Maybe none, I don't know. But we spent a while, one day in class talking about it. And I don't have my notes from the class here. This was a while ago. But my recollection is that the conversation in the class really kind of closely paralleled a lot of the priorities that came out in the people who took the time to fill out this. You know, a lot of concern about how, you know, this is an important issue that people may be vaguely aware of, but they're not really well informed about it. They maybe don't know where to get the information. They don't know if they trust the information. A lot of concern about, you know, the bottom line costs of, you know, some of these changes, both to the city and to individuals. A lot of talk about, you know, the drought and preserving water. You know, so I guess looking at your results here makes me think that, you know, the students that I talked about the survey, you know, when they express their opinion, you know, they're kind of in line with people who did take the time to respond to the survey. So anecdotal data that supports the legitimacy of the counts you guys did, I think.
If there's no other discussion from the board,
Well, I would like to know about the removal of the goal for reducing greenhouse gas emissions.
I think are you gonna hit on that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
we're
talk
gonna
about it
do
more,
that.
with the
Okay.
changes to the
I
draft plan.
think that's important to do. So I have a concern that you've taken that out.
yeah, we can, after we're done talking about the survey, we can move on
Okay.
to that point. Now open to the public, if you guys have any questions.
We had done a presentation out to the state legislature, that they're shifting their focus to new natural gas plants.
Yes.
And that they have now deemed solar and wind to be intermittent energy and not to be used to sustain power for the grid. So does that impact, what the sustainability board is considering in that portion of the survey?
I would.
Wouldn't
defer to the
energy
board to
still
answer if
come
you want
from,
to.
I mean, it's still gonna come from the same place, whether it's produced one way or another. But yes, more natural gas plants are what they're planning to do there, and we're gonna have to pay for them.
Right.
1.5
1
billion in
billion
2 different
each.
places.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and that will be our
But I'm just
cost.
saying, like, they've now presented that,
Mhm.
and so they're coming out very vocally now, saying.
I'm sure
that
they are.
They're turning away from wind and solar.
Yeah, I know, it's really disappointing. But we're gonna be expected to pay for that, where wind and solar is less expensive. And all you need is batteries to make that work. So there are other ways to do it.
Yeah, currently the city does buy a lot of wind energy, and I expect that to continue to buy it from Oklahoma. I think if we do look at solar, as we mentioned previously, like solar pilots, it would be behind the meter, meaning it would be directly supplying to the building or whatever is taking up that energy. We don't regulate right now, as we're seeing for solar. We personally don't regulate, so part of the city of what we're doing is going to focus on how we can affect our emissions, which we are currently looking at already, and I think that will continue.
Is that presentation online?
It is, it was presented in a committee, probably to the utility house committee, yeah.
Okay, because I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah,
I'd
because
like
they
to
actually
take a look
talked
at
about
that.
all the big businesses that are coming to the whole state of Kansas and how they need to shift. There's like big battery data centers that are coming. Google's going to the Missouri border, but it's gonna impact Kansas energy. So that we're gonna have to build infrastructure here to help power the new Google plant that's gonna go into
But I
Missouri.
thought Google wanted to be all renewables.
That's not what they're talking about.
No, I'm sure that's not what
That's not what
Evergy's
Evergy's
talking
talking
about.
I think
That's-
we're,
I'm
sorry,
sure-
we're getting a little off track from the topic.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Can I just say that the League of Women Voters has partnered with the Climate Plus Energy to give a presentation at the Westlink Library tomorrow at 6 o'clock. And they have a presentation on what KCC is asking.
Kansas Corporation Commission.
Yeah.
Is the one that makes this decision, not the legislature.
So it's open to the public.
If anyone has any more questions after the meeting, I think Randy will be happy to answer those. Thank you,
Thank you.
Randy.
Are the results going to be published anywhere online?
Like this presentation, we'll put
Yeah,
it
something.
probably on the sustainability page, so wichita.gov/sustainability.
What was, you said you brought this up to your students. What's the average age group? For your
It was an
students?
undergraduate class, it was an American government class, so most of the students would have been freshmen or sophomores, so.
So early 20s, I'm taking.
I would say the average age would be probably, average age in the class was probably 19.
Okay.
So I guess I
So-
don't really, are you guys gonna talk about this in the next slide about the decision to remove the greenhouse gas?
yeah, we'll talk about the changes to the
I
plan
guess
in
it
the
was
next
less
one.
about changes before the decision, just because climate change was the #2 environmental issue that came up, so I'm wondering what was behind the decision.
We'll talk about
Yeah, this is Joe. I'm online. I'm wondering about that as well.
Okay, yeah, we will go over these next couple slides, and if that doesn't kind of answer your question, we'll definitely pass it over to Gary too. Before that, any other questions from the public? I don't wanna. Okay. So Mary asked, since we have such bad storms here and high winds, how can we justify using more solar panels? Solar farms are being destroyed by hail, etc., and it's costly to fix the panels every time it hails or storm and the equipment gets damaged.
I wish Kent was here.
Oh, yeah.
He's the expert. Holger might have some input on that.
I mean, obviously, solar panels can get damaged by extreme hail. All other infrastructure can also get damaged, and there are ways to get around that. Solar panels on large installations can pivot out of the path of the hail by, being more upright during a storm, or, there are ways to address these concerns. It is still overall true that renewable energy has a lower price point per kilowatt hour than other forms of electricity generation.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
FYI,
Yeah, this is
Go ahead.
yeah, this is Joe Madden. I've had solar panels on my home for almost 4 years, and they handle all kinds of hail and bad weather. They they're a lot more resilient than people realize.
Okay, Russell, if you want to add to that real quick.
I also have solar panels on my home. It's gone through some heavy hailstorms. I'm looking online. Seems like there's multiple references to a really freak heavy hailstorm in Texas that did some serious damage to a solar facility there. But I'm not seeing any indication that this is an actually common phenomenon for solar panels. I mean, obviously, this is just one Google search, so I'm no authority.
I agree with your point, and we did use the solar panels for very, very rough conditions. The main challenge for the solar panels is the cleaning the solar panels. When the dust start to accumulate on the panels, they start to minimize the light absorption, but this is the main challenge. If the hail or the storm damage it, meaning that will damage your windows of the glass, right? So something like that. And the new generation for solar panels now is transparent solar panels. It can co-produce electricity, and in the meantime, it can act as a window for your house.
Thank you, guys. So I want to talk a little bit about the community resiliency plan. So there are a few changes in there. I do want to say the majority of what we put in there, the substance, so like the focus areas, are still in there. I wanted to draw your attention to these updates page that I passed out to you guys. So it's actually the second page in the new plan, just talking about what some of the changes are, what this document isn't, as Gary got to a little bit earlier. So I think that's a really important summary to kind of be looking at of where we started this and where kind of we are right now. So as Gary mentioned, there is an air quality section, which I love. It really talks about different types of air quality, the background of what I'm able to do at the position at the city and what has been done before me. And most importantly, it does talk about the cost of non-attainment, which is really important. We're talking about millions of dollars. So some of this that we're putting into the plan helps reduce the air quality or helps increase the better air quality, but reduce different air quality causing emissions. Which is vitally important, because if we aren't able to, get better air quality, and we aren't able to stay within federal standards, that could mean extra costs to taxpayers and people here in Wichita.
And
for
more
different reasons.
illnesses here too.
Exactly,
When air
yeah, so
quality is poor,
worse health
more people go to
incomes.
the ER.
So yes, and that is all actually within the first couple pages that we added in there. So we just wanted to really put an emphasis on there, because there is a monetary and financial burden that we will have to bear if we're not doing anything about it. So I thought that was really
I
important.
just have one dumb question about that. Is it air quality that Wichita is generating regardless of where it settles at? Or is it air quality that is settling here in Wichita regardless of where it's generated from?
It is both. So we do generate air quality that goes to other places, and other places generate air quality that comes to us. So it is both. If on a hot sunny day, it's rush hour, ozone, I see it, I'm watching it, it goes up because of all the cars that are going and sitting and idling on the highway. So it's not just about what's coming to us, but it's also about what we're producing. Nebraska gets mad at us because we get Flint Hill smoke pushed up to them. So it's kind of like be a good neighbor, but also hoping Oklahoma does something because some of their stuff comes out to us, but we are also affecting the air quality that stays here.
I just didn't know what we're penalized on. Are we penalized on what we create
Regardless.
or what landscape?
Yes, it's the unfortunate is we are penalized regardless. We do have a few exceptions, like if there's an exceptional, fire. We get a lot of wildfire smoke from Canada, as you guys saw a lot last year. We got, I believe the event a couple weeks ago was coming up from Texas. So we do get penalized. The Supreme Court was looking previously at a good neighbor policy that the EPA had done to penalize certain states that were a little bit worse than others. So the first ones were like California and Oklahoma. They were one of the two states that I was looking at that were creating more. So that would help us here in Kansas, but Kansas was a secondary state because we were producing so much bad air quality for Nebraska. So that would penalize those other states and really take into account the air quality that was traveling to their neighbors. And it's called the Good Neighbor Policy if anyone would like to look into it. But it is very interesting, but yes, we are penalized technically because it's really hard to distinguish what is somebody else's versus what is ours.
So when you look for the air quality, you look for the SOx, NOx, and CO and CO2.
Yeah, so all that is being monitored by the 3 KDHE monitors we have, and it separates it out for me into PM10, which is particulate matter 10, which is going to be a little bit bigger, which is what we all saw a couple weeks ago. And there's PM 2.5, which is a little bit more fine particles, which is actually all laid out in the couple pages. So sorry if I'm kind of going too much into detail about it. But that was actually today. So this morning, we actually did have high PM 2.5 due to the smoke that was coming in from Oklahoma, but it dissipated kind of early afternoon. It's pretty unusual because it was at 7 a.m., got bad air quality. And then we monitor ozone as well, which is what we're currently have our federal standards. We're expected to get federal standards for particulate matter.
Chat, I don't know if we can respond right now, but we can take that.
Clean coal.
We can come back to the comment.
Yes, that was the question. Okay. So as I mentioned, air quality section has been added, so you can kind of read about what we're watching here, kind of what the cost of non-attainment of being within federal standards could mean for us, not only for the city, but also for citizens as well. And then we did emphasize more on showing how this effort connects capacity plans and projects. So Ethan did a great deal of work going in and editing it. So a lot of what we're pulling from is from plans already existing, as Gary mentioned earlier, like the bicycle pedestrian plan, the places for people plan, all those plans that the city has already gone through the effort of researching and already approving are kind of looped into this because there's a lot of plans that we pick through. Sustainability isn't just, a one-way road. It can go into many different areas, and we want to emphasize that. So if you want to see maybe where a particular thing might have come from, odds are we got it from a different plan as well and trying to put it together with a few other things as well. So, and then the last point, as Gary mentioned, so the community mitigation goal has been removed, retain the community tree canopy goal, just because that was one of the big emphases that the sustainability group, and as we saw on the survey results, we are keeping our organizational goal. So there's keeping a focus on city goal and operation, seeing what we can affect, still continuing to have, some measures to hope that the community can move in the direction of reducing their emissions, but not necessarily putting a goal on there that, people may feel will lead to restrictions. And then, yes, I think that's all I have for this slide. Oh, and on the wichita.gov/sustainability, which I will show you guys. So on here, when you go to wichita.gov/sustainability, so you'll see all of Ethan's.
Yeah,
Earth
so
Month
we're
events.
advertising right now, so it's not at
Yes.
the top, but
But if you go to City Sustainable Efforts or the Sustainable Integration Board, once you see it here, you will see the new draft plan will be here available for you guys to be able to read, so you can take a look at it. This Sustainability Board has already taken a look at it. Like I said, I recommend everyone takes a look at it, kind of see what the changes are. We don't have a new survey open right now. We're still kind of waiting to see, what our next steps are going to be, but feel free. We have our contact information. If you have any issues with it, if you have feedback that you want to direct to us, if you want to be included for us to send you directly, maybe the next survey iteration, if that's what we choose to do, or if we're going to take this to, be presented somewhere and you'd like to be informed about that, feel free to send us an email. We'll be happy to include you guys. And then I have a couple more slides before we get to questions for this portion. So we were contacted by KDHE.
Ooh, that's the way to do it.
Sorry, I was trying to figure out how to make it bigger. I was gonna say the size. So KDHE reached out to us about a grant that would be a 2-year grant of about $200,000. So this came out of what is called CPRG funds. If you guys remember, the SIB actually helped us come up with a grant application that Ethan submitted. I believe it was last year. It was about $20 million, if I remember correctly, at a lot of things like solar and stuff. Unfortunately, were not picked. That was the implementation portion. So they had a planning grant that was actually given to KDHE. And so they decided to subgrant some of their funds that they have left over to the biggest cities in Kansas to kind of come up with a similar plan that we have actually luckily been developing for the past year. So what this means is additional funding to help plan, to further develop the plan with no matching funds required. So this will just be kind of $200,000 that we can use for things like a cost benefit analysis. So that was one of the things we heard within feedback saying, how much is this going to cost? How is this going to affect us? You know, and we want to make sure that we're listening to you guys. And now we have a way to be able to kind of research that with it just being a staff of 2 of us here. So having this additional funds will allow us to do that without having any additional funds from the city. It will also allow us to do more public outreach and feedback. I know from some people we heard, hey, I hadn't heard about this, like, you know, why wasn't it out there? And it's honestly funding restriction. We didn't want to spend, you know, too much money on this. And now we'll have the ability to hopefully widen our net of people that will able to respond and give us feedback on this plan.
I believe it might be more effective if we have a deployment plan to establish cost benefit analysis. So deployment plan, like for all the items, the 5 items you have for the draft,
Yes.
what is your deployment plan, how to make it, you know, in terms of step
Yes.
A to Z. If we don't have that cost benefit analysis, will not be solid enough
Yes.
to make judgment, you know.
Yes, and that is also part of what we could use the funding for, is to really see how this could go into being developed and being implemented. How can we track these goals if we're having a project, making sure that they are, you know, cutting city energy use by so much. So really finding a way to be accountable and transparent for what we're able to do if this plan were able to be approved and implemented by the city. This agreement does not lock us into any specific goals or actions, so it's really just meant to help us develop this plan further and hopefully just get more public feedback. And the agreement will hopefully go to city council for approval. We'd like to get SIB's vote to see if they would agree to let us kind of go to council with this. From what we understand, it's a 2-year grant. We say about 200,000 because if any other city declines their amount, there's a chance that our amount could increase. So we say about 200,000 is what we were guaranteed.
And this money, to summarize, is going to keep developing the plan.
Yes.
It's a planning grant.
Yes, and to, just kind of give more information, some of that information that, you know, whether it been the council member that had asked for it or a member of the public, you know, there was a lot of, you know, issues about costs and stuff. So we want to make sure we're getting all the facts and figures correct before we go to a final iteration of this plan. I do want to emphasize this plan is still in a draft form. We plan to keep it in a draft form. You know, this grant will just be used to further develop it.
Should you like draft like a proposal called KDHE about how you use this money, or just...
No, so there's kind of a contract and they have certain steps that we have to take. So one is actually, we have to have like a cost benefit analysis. And so basically, as long as, you know, we sign saying, yeah, we'll do this, and we'll have to be reporting to them kind of quarterly, but it's, yeah. So it's, we don't have to apply for it. We just have to.
Do you know who the other cities are? I can't imagine anybody
Just
turning
based
down
on
free money.
population, so it'd be the next 4 largest would have been offered this outside of the KC metro area because they were covered by a different grant.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, what we think is the issue with them is maybe if they don't have a, you know, dedicated people in these positions, they might not have the administrative bandwidth to be able to use this grant. So I know that's an issue in a lot of smaller cities.
This
Okay.
is actually considered a small city by many people across the country.
Yes, in terms of Kansas, so there are smaller cities. So for next steps, so obviously we want to get your guys' feedback here on the KDHE grant. So this is specifically talking about the KDHE grant right now. So feedback, and the current iteration of the draft plan. We would like to get council approval for the KDHE grant. So if you guys feel that that's a good use of the funding that we should accept, then I would love for you guys to vote and approve it just so we can do it a little bit sooner rather than later. We are kind of on a deadline for that to be able to approve those funds because again, if we don't accept them, someone else might. And then carry out grant activities. So assuming we get this grant and it is approved, we want a development of the cost benefit analysis and other aspects that are included in that. and then continue to bring this plan and its in its updated form to SIB, DABs, and other public forums as we have been doing. You know, use some of that funding to maybe try and get more people out at these things to get it so where more people are hearing about it and being able to give us feedback, whether that's good or bad. We'll accept it all. We want to know. And I will pause here for questions now from the board first, and then we'll go on to the public.
I'm gonna jump in real quick as I'm online. Hello, thank you. All of you, Gary, as what's funny how you say just Google my name, water. Thank you for being there today. And both of you for pulling all the looking at all the past reports. I love to hear that because I feel like we've a lot of times we take these surveys, we do these report, and these studies, sorry, and then so I love that I say go for the grant for sure, and because we do need to get out there more, and would that grant money be available for like advertisements in neighborhood newsletters and stuff like that? Would it be able to pay for that?
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's one of the things that we would like to use it
Perfect.
for.
And yeah, I'll get off. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, Jessica.
I have one dumb question.
Yeah.
Is there a way to, as you're studying air quality, as we're studying these things, I'm all for the grant. Is there a way that we can take a micro study of very similar to what NASA's doing, what other countries are polluting the US, but being able to really look at this of, is Wichita itself trending downwards, meaning that we're creating better air, better water. However, our scores may be stagnant or trending upwards in the wrong direction due to what's drifting into our environment or what is coming into our area of operations. To really be able to showcase Wichita is making a positive impact, but it's areas outside of our control that's affecting us.
Are you kind of talking about a greenhouse gas inventory?
I don't know what you're majoring and how you're majoring. As a farmer, I hate tillage. People that till, that's their grandfather's way to plant crops.
Right.
There's a lot of farmers that like the smell of dirt and diesel. Right now, being about ready to be planting season, are we seeing reduced air quality because of things that we can't control 5 counties over, or maybe in Colorado, that's affecting us?
Yeah.
And so is there a way in what you're doing, or is there a way to be able to apply this to be able to show that Wichita is trending in the right direction? However, maybe the air quality or the water quality, what's actually affecting us is trending maybe stagnant or in the wrong direction, but it's due to outside influences.
I'm not sure if we can separate it out like that, but you can definitely look at that as an option with using some of this money for some kind of study like that. I'm not sure if we can, but.
Because I know NASA was studying that a lot of
Interesting question.
pollution in California is from Far East Asia.
Yeah, we can definitely look at to see if that's an eligible use for the grant, or how, if that's something some kind of business does that we can contract out for.
And don't we have, I don't know the agency or whoever puts out the scorecard, but I know that looking over it in the past couple of years, we have increased from like a D to a C to I don't know what our current standing is
So
now.
we actually, we do CDP every year, so we do submit kind of like what we're doing.
They haven't released this year's scores yet, actually. There's been a lot of delays with CDP's scoring, but that's the one with the letter grading.
Yes.
Thank you. So let's get in it.
ABC, yeah, if I can.
And for the air quality, like for the public, you have access to log for the air quality?
So anyone at airnow.gov can look up real time. So they update it every hour, so you can look it up by zip code. There's even a smoke map on there. Yes. Yeah. So right now we're on unhealthy.
It's up pretty high now.
Airnow.gov.
The fire smoke, so.
Yeah, so it's an awesome resource, but I looked up our monitors, they feed the information to them, so they are updated about every hour. So really great resource. Yeah, there's also a smoke map on there, so if you want to see smoke fires, it'll pick up satellite data, so it'll pick up some of the Flint Hill stuff, so you can actually see where some of that stuff is coming from.
It's gone up since we've been in here.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. just in the last hour.
Yeah, quite a bit.
All right, well, I want to give enough time for the public to ask questions, and we are getting kind of close to time. So any other board discussion before we move on?
Do we need to
Do we need
make
to
a
vote?
motion and vote?
I think we'll get, well, yes, okay, so yes, you guys can make a motion and then we'll have to go to the public before you vote on the motion, I believe.
Ben blankly, I move to approve the KDHE grant application,
Second.
The recommendation.
the recommendation. Yes. correct.
Okay, wait, who second that? Was that you? Russell?
Russell.
Russell.
Okay, before we vote, I will open it up to public questions or comments.
This is Joe Madden here. I'm online. Just wanted to better understand why the community-wide greenhouse gas emissions goal was removed and how that impacts plans moving forward. Thank you.
Did you want me to help?
Do you feel like
So everybody here, and I appreciate you asking that, has got some information about what our updates are on. So I'm going to read this, what this says about this part. One of the main changes was the removal of a community-wide goal for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. This was in response to community concerns related to how this goal would be achieved and what costs would be incurred. So, and I think that makes sense. And again, it was great to have the feedback. And I think that was a good place for us to go. It's a lofty goal. I think, and I spent some time talking to the city manager and others about this. I think it's probably too hard for us to wrap our arms around something broad. And how do we determine success? And part of it, we already see in what's happening with air quality. It's not all directly, but we do see some of that there. I think what is a better way to approach this is a lot of the other areas that we're talking about focusing on, none of it hardly really is new, but bringing this all together already gets us headed in the right direction of trying to reduce emissions community-wide. I'm not really sure how we would go about determining success. And what if we don't meet those goals? I mentioned it before and I'll mention it again. We're not going to tell people to stop driving less. We're not going to mandate anything. What we do now with air quality is we remind folks about try not to mow your grass in the middle of the day. Think about when you fill your car up with fuel. I think this becomes more of public education than anything. Yeah. And probably we're better served likely to, because if we tried to put a cost benefit analysis of that, I'm not even sure where we'd go with it community wide. So I think we'd be better served looking at the educational component of it, what that means to think about overall emissions reduction. I believe we've got a lot of good stuff built into this plan that gets us there anyway, without having that as one direct place that we measure. So I don't know if you guys have got anything to add to that or not.
I do think it's easier to affect change within the city than to change, maybe force change on somebody else. We talk about tree canopy. We can't force people to plant trees in their own home. So if we maybe make a project where we can give away trees and people can choose, I think that's more of the direction we want to take, is try and, educate people so they can make those changes and still affecting change that we can affect at city operations level.
And thank you for that. I'm sorry I left that part out. I would tag onto that real quick. We're a big organization. We've got 2,500 vehicles, not all of them are moving at the same time. We've got a lot of buildings. We for years and years and years have been looking at sustainable practices and the things that we design and build, and we will continue to do so. But I think there is a better opportunity there to measure how we're doing ourselves, and we can probably get to a better point of cost benefit analysis for that, what we do, and see where we really get to, because we want to be good stewards of the taxpayer dollars. We have no intentions of going through the motions here and doing things because it sounds right. We want to make sure it's effective. I think that's a lot more measurable on an organizational level than community-wide.
But letting the city of Wichita community know what's happening and them going, I wonder if I could do that at my house, would be really important, but the word just doesn't get out very well.
I thank you for that, Lori. And I want to go back and get stuck on the drought, but I'm going to tell you something that we've preached on the drought. It's been more about education and collaboration. We're not out to enforce fines. We're not out to get people. We're not out to trap people. We don't have the resources anyway. It's been about education, education, education. I think that's a place, whether it's with this grant funding, whether we look at our internal programs, we look at the things that Ethan's doing in his position. He can impact communications himself to the community, but I'll give you a quick comparison. One of the requirements of our drought response plan is we entered stage 1, which can encourage voluntary conservation. We had to implement an internal conservation plan, which we had already started. We have an internal conservation team. It's represented by every department that meets on a regular basis. We have found lots of ways in our organization to save water. We stopped washing fire trucks as often. We don't wash golf carts anymore. That may not sound like much, but it adds up. It adds up. We've got 22 fire stations. It adds up. We changed our mowing practices and grass types at golf courses. We did things with ball fields to help save water. All of our facilities, we water once a week. We had already started that. I think you hit on something really good because the community told us, oh, we'll start conserving water when you do it first. So we said, fine, we get it. Here's what we're gonna do. I've heard a lot of feedback from people saying, we're glad to hear what you're doing. I hadn't thought about that. We've got great references to educational materials, links to K-State and Sedgwick County Extension, how to better take care of your yard, how to better plant things. All that information is out there for people, how they can do with it what they want. I could foresee the same thing here. That doesn't cost us a lot of money to provide educational materials. If you want to help impact our air quality, our emissions, here's the things you can do. I just think that's a better place for us to go
Some
than trying to
good
make.
media attention would be really
Yeah,
helpful.
yeah, that's cheap for us to engage the media. Some of the media is here tonight.
Yeah, this is Joe. Thank you for that clarification. And I, I agree with you and Lori that having the city lead by example can be really powerful if that's, if you kind of get the word out on what the city is doing and then what, everyday, citizens can do as well.
We're running out of time, so quickly, Jessica, to answer your question, yeah, we did get some at like dabs and stuff like that too, so this was kind of a push by the public.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious, but that's, what I've been saying is the education and outreach. So, maybe we can plan for, are we gonna have a booth at Open Streets? Looking,
What was that? Sorry, I missed the last
You're
part.
gonna have a booth at Open Streets.
Oh, yes, we'll be at the Open Streets, both at the one coming up here in the next couple of weeks and the one at Nomar, and the other one, that happens in like October, hasn't opened yet, but we do plan on being there.
cool. So yeah, if we could just, maybe partner with, the mayor's, whatever, Mayor's Youth Council, yeah. And yeah, I'll let you guys continue for.
Yes, thank you. Continuing with the public, because we are running out of time, so I want to make sure everyone who has questions gets their questions answered.
Oh, something quick. Yeah, I actually agree with the removing the community-wide goal for reducing greenhouse gases because the plan needs to reflect Wichitans. And for Wichitans, I don't believe greenhouse gases are an emergency right now, but they can see the drought. And so people across the political spectrum can look at drought and go, this is a big deal. But I don't think greenhouse gases are there yet. But they might be. Once it's an emergency.
Gases are.
Yeah, once it's an emergency, we will probably go there. But I
Well,
don't
we'll
think we're
educate first.
Okay, yeah, I do want to continue
Okay,
on
sorry.
public so we can get to Earth Day stuff. Did you have any?
Yes.
Yes.
Has anybody done any research on air quality regarding the chemtrails?
I'm not sure what chemtrails you mean with the question.
Chemtrails.
The contrails is what
What
you're
I was
talking
No,
about.
no, ma'am.
Yes.
Chemtrails.
Yes.
He would understand contrails, whatever you want to refer
Yeah.
to. He probably know what a jet contrail is in the sky.
It's like,
No, they're two different things.
Well, I've had this discussion with others and I'm not trying to play semantics with you, but I saw your picture and I think we're talking about the same things.
we don't research
We don't have any
Don't
information.
highlight
They don't have money or.
no,
staff
I've been
or-
in aviation for 17 years.
And I hope you know, I wasn't trying to, we don't have any information on that. I would just want to make sure Ethan understood, we don't have any information on it.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
My husband's been in aviation too for almost 30 years, so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, if there's no other questions or comments on this topic, then I believe there is a motion with a second.
Yes.
Yes, second.
Okay, so yeah, there's a second. So if you want to say all.
You have to do a vote.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Okay.
I was looking for her picture. Okay.
We'll help you.
Yeah. Okay, so we have two motions now, right?
Yeah, so it's just like all in
Okay.
favor of a.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
Supporting this, yeah.
Yeah. For those in favor of approving and recommending that, say aye.
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 Okay. Anyone in person or online say no or against that? Okay, we are approving that and moving forward.
Just for the grant application.
For the grant application of.
Yes, for the grant application.
Yeah.
I think everybody was
Yes.
fair.
Do we need to have an approval in order for you present it to the city council? You just,
It's recommended because
That's-
you are the sustainability
Okay.
board and this does pertain to sustainability, so it helps us kind of let the council know that.
Because they want to know that
volunteer-
you
Yeah.
guys saw it.
okay, so did we
So is
vote
that
that?
part of
Yep,
it?
yeah, so
Yes.
that's enough, so
Okay.
whenever we
Just say
do
yes.
present it, we'll just
Alright.
let them know we did get your support beforehand.
You'd like verbal confirmation or something.
Okay.
Do we have time for the last item?
Yes, we're running a little bit short. We're gonna kick it out here in a few minutes. So really quickly, just want to highlight the Earth Day events. Again, they're on the sustainability page, but I will toss it over to Lori.
Yes.
I'm okay.
Um, we need to add one more event, and that would be April 26th, which is the final Saturday. And we're going to have an Earth Day event, just general to the entire public. Any environmental organizations that you know of, please let us know. Randy and I are both organizing this along with Councilmember Mike Hoheisel. It's the 26th at Clap Park from 1 to 4. And I would like to know if there's enough interest on the SIB to have a table there at all. Availability may be the issue, but
April 26th.
April 26th, yeah.
Our goal
What
really
it is?
is education. You know, we keep talking about education here. It's for education. It's not gonna be a lot of activities or whatever. We're hoping to get different information from, other parts of Wichita, City of Wichita, and have that available and be able to have conversations about, water conservation and.
I can be there and provide a table or whatever you need. And Randy, I have some leftover stuff from Earth Day,
Okay.
Earth Day
great.
prizes and whatnots as well.
Cool.
You sounded like you were thinking about
Are
it.
you gonna do it?
I cannot, so there's a conservation corps or crew
Okay,
in Wichita, but they're out that weekend doing
Oh.
projects.
yeah,
If we
it's a
leave-
busy weekend.
We leave paperwork about what they do.
Yes, please. We'd like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you can, you've got our emails. So if you can send us something that we can put out for people, that'd be great.
The mayor's council, the youth group that was here last time, they're gonna have a table too. So we've got like ICT, trees and.
Plastic-free Wichita. I tried to get Sierra Club, but they're all busy. It's hard.
it's hard.
Especially since Ethan used every single weekend, so we didn't have any
Just
choice.
one weekend, just the 19th. Those are weekdays.
But we're open to having, more tables. It's pretty low key.
Yeah, yeah. All the conservation environmental groups that you know of, and thanks for that,
I'm
Nathan.
sorry, I missed the location. Where is it gonna be at?
It's at Clap Park.
Ooh,
Yeah. Oh, it's a beautiful park.
yeah.
And Mike
Really?
Hoheisel's gonna come out and hopefully and talk about the park and what's going on there.
Yeah.
And you said the 26th,
Yes,
1 to 4?
Yes.
right.
Thank you. Yeah, I can be there. Okay, just triple check.
Okay.
Yeah. And Ethan is already gonna be there with Public Works. Right?
I will have a table to advertise our.
Okay, that's
Yes.
perfect. That's perfect.
Conservation water.
Yes. Right, then we were hoping to have a lot of information about water conservation. Are there still any of those H2 no signs that maybe we could bring?
There are, yeah.
I got one in my yard, but it'd be nice to have something like that. Yeah, it'd be nice to have those.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have 3 minutes left. Anything
Any of our,
else?
I was just gonna say Beatrice, if she's still around, the city mascot.
So officially, I am Beatrice. And now that you
No, the illusion is broken.
Yeah, so sorry. Children, cover your ears. Unfortunately, we don't have like an intern one that can wear it. So if I go and I want to talk about air quality, it makes it very hard if I'm in a bee suit. So we have not brought Beatrice out. If you have anyone who'd like to volunteer and be a Beatrice, we're happy to loan out the suit and stuff. And I'd be happy to go talk about air quality in different places. Happy to do that if you guys want to reach out to me. But yeah, that's kind of situation with the bee. Plus it gets really hot in there and it's just not my vibe.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so if anyone else has anything regarding this Earth Day event, reach out to Lori and Randy.
Yeah,
Um,
please.
Okay, so lastly, just public comments. Reminder, we are on a short time, so if anyone does have a public comment, just kind of be cognizant of that. You might get cut off by the speaker telling us the library is closing. But it is open to anyone from the public, whether it be comment or questions.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment on the removal of that goal. I think it's smart to have, goals that can be measured and so on. So I understand the rationale you've explained. But similar to Russell, I also teach college students, and just yesterday I had the student share with me in, the world with climate change going like this. I'm not going to have any children. And so, there's just a few years ago, I was, more afraid than the young people were. And now it's flipped around, even though I'm just as afraid or more afraid than I have been. They have surpassed me in their level of anxiety. So I think setting ambitious goals, inspiring goals, to give confidence, to really show that action is, desired, not just, minimum effort to placate those tree huggers, but a meaningful, sincere, honest effort that will have results. I think that's what's called for. We use this afraid.
Thank you for that.
As a tree hugger, I take offense.
Well, I would have one here as not a tree hugger. And we care about water. And as harsh as I am against you, I really am all about conservation. I am about reusing. And so one of my comments when we talk about Wichita, there's a lot of things we can do outside of Wichita that actually directly impacts Wichita. And red cedars need to be destroyed.
Yes.
But how do we as Wichita understand that Kansas Forestry cannot count the number of red cedars in the state? And if we want to increase more water flowing, not only do we need it to fall from the sky, we need to stop.
That's right.
Up from the ground.
Those things are awful.
Your attention, please. The library will close in 15 minutes. If you have books or other items to check out, staff are available near the self-check stations to assist. Please save all documents and complete all printing at this time. Thank you for visiting the Wichita Public Library.
This is
So thanks
something
for
that
coming.
needs to be tackled on statewide basis. Yeah, absolutely. And I see it all the time and I'm horrified. Why are, if you stop them when they're little, they don't get big.
I tried on the map. That was one of my fires.
Yeah. I don't know how we can get.
Yeah, literally.
It may be, I don't know if this is KDHE, but
I'm gonna go make a phone
there
call. Just
should
when
be
you
some
Project announced.
Department of Ag
Say, oh, but look
that
at
might
how
care about this. Department of Ag have their